todo el mundo y bienvenido a mi canal. Yo me llamo Sirey. Soy una abogada afro-latina licenciada practicando la ley criminal, pero como todos ustedes, a mí me fascina cuando estamos hablando de casos de crímenes reales. En este video vamos a hablar del caso de Latoshia Daniels. Si quieren más video en español, nada más dime allá abajo. Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Desiree. I'm a licensed and practicing Afro-Latina criminal attorney who, much like the rest of you, has a severe fascination with true crime cases. Listen, you guys, this case came on my radar relatively recently, and I am just appalled about what occurred here. This is a case of a woman who is alleged, because I don't want to give away this story just at this point, to have murdered her former pastor, aka Mr., because she was his mistress, and tried to murder his wife because of some ethical non-monogamy situation that they all had going on. Oh, let's get into it without further ado. This is the case of Latoshia Daniels. At the time of his passing, Brodus C. Perry was a pastor at Mississippi Boulevard Christian Church. At some point prior to that, Brodus was a pastor at Assimilation at St. Mark Baptist Church in Little Rock, Arkansas. I'm a believer in Christ, but I'm not the type of person who's going to make you feel any different for your beliefs or your disbeliefs, right? I say that to say, I find it interesting that a lot of pastors, priests, what have you, find themselves in situations where certain parts of the Bible only apply to the lives of others and not their own. Brodus C. Perry was married to a beautiful woman by the name of Tabatha Archie Perry, or Perry Archie. And despite that, he wanted to lead what's called an ethical, non-monogamous lifestyle.
Well, I'm at a place now where I want to expand this ethical non-monogamy, and I'm just, your opinion matters to me because we are in this relationship. But at the same time, like I said from the outset, I want to be respectful, but I also want to let you know that, your opinion matters. But at the same time, I don't want you to put me in a box, right? Because while we talked about it in theory, this is now the practice part. And with a tab being perfectly fine with, the situation, because how I've handled and been honest and transparent and open with her with regard to this current relationship, me expanding it is not an issue for me. Basically, she told me, we can talk about it when you think it's worth talking about. But the way that you handle this, I'm fine with not trust your judgment because you haven't given me a reason not to.
In that, Brodus wanted to have multiple women, and he told Latoshia Daniels that his wife was okay with that. And so that's what Latoshia claims to have believed. Latoshia Daniels is said to have been an acquaintance of the couple from when they were back in Arkansas, but on April 4th of 2019, I'll say she wasn't feeling all that friendly. It is said that Latoshia Daniels went to the Perry's household and spoke to them for approximately 40 minutes before Tabatha tried to escort her out. At the point that Tabatha tried to escort Latoshia out of her home, Latoshia grabbed a gun from inside her coat and started shooting Brodus multiple times. According to Tabatha, as Latoshia shot Brodus, she shouted multiple times, "You broke my heart." Those shots landed in Brodus's head and his torso, and he was ultimately pronounced dead at the hospital later on. While still at the home, and while Latoshia was still present, and after she shot Brodus, Tabatha knelt down to check on her husband. It was at that point that Latoshia then shot Tabatha in the shoulder. As you just heard me say, the incident here happened in April of 2019, so 6 years ago at this point. The trial just happened this month, November of 2025, and let's go ahead and get into it. If you guys are questioning why there might be reason for the delay, please remember that 2019 was still COVID. I'm sure that that was a lot of what happened here, but I can't affirm definitively. But anyways, let's carry on. As I said in my last video, I don't want to make it a habit of like going on and on and on about every witness that's ever testified ever, because we don't need to do that. That becomes less effective. And I want you guys to listen to me as I'm speaking to you. There were 2 witnesses that testified in this trial that I want to focus in on. And those witnesses are Tabatha Perry Archie and Latoshia Daniels herself.
How long would you say that she stayed
After he got there.
after he got?
Maybe another 10 minutes.
And what happened?
She said, well, I'm not going to keep you guys. I'm going to, head out or whatever. So we all got up to walk to the door, and I led, and she was behind me and he was behind her. And I walked to the door, and I'm just giving this little spiel about not speeding in the area, just making small talk as we go to the door. I open the door and I go out. We're on the 2nd floor, and I'm like, right at the steps when I turn back, and I'm like, okay, no one's behind me. And then I see her pull out her gun and start shooting.
Was she inside of the apartment or outside?
No, she was outside of the apartment, and he was like standing in the doorway, like in the threshold.
Had she ever, since she got there and you let her in, had she left the apartment to go back to her car or anything?
No.
So she had brought the gun in with her when she came into the apartment.
Yes.
So when she pulled the gun out, what happened then?
She started shooting. He hit the ground, and I started running toward him. And she told me, like, basically back off. So I stopped and I ran to the neighbor's door and I banged on the door, called 911. She went back into the apartment. So I went back into the apartment because I'm just trying to figure out what is going on. Like, why is this happening? So I'm, screaming naturally, why is this happening? What's happening? Why are you doing this?
Okay. So do you think your neighbor called 911 at that point?
One of them did. Somebody called.
When you got back into the apartment, did the defendant still have the gun in her hand?
Yes.
And what was going on then?
I guess at that point, I'm basically pleading, like, what's happening? Why are you doing this? Please leave, and she's, kind of pacing a little bit, with the gun. At some point, the gun was reloaded.
So she fired until she ran out of bullets? Were you ever shot?
I was shot.
Tell me about that. When did that happen? Where were you?
Well, at some point I got on the ground, and I can't remember if I got on the ground immediately, but I was on the ground and I was kind of hovering over him, kind of in my mind. I'm like, let me cover his head, so he doesn't get shot anymore. And, she was yelling at me to move, and I wouldn't move. So I got shot.
Where'd you get shot?
In the shoulder.
Tell me about those injuries. Where and how were you treated? What have you had to deal with since being shot?
So it went into the shoulder, it broke this bone. And so at the emergency room, they decided that they wouldn't remove the bullet because,
No. Take your time.
They felt like it wasn't going to move. So they just didn't remove it. But when I got to Jacksonville, I know that's home, Florida. I went back home, and they noticed that the bullet had started moving. So the first doctor I went to was like, this bullet is too close to your lung. So, it's going to have to go. And I went to the orthopedic doctor, then I went to another doctor, and they decided to just remove it. And by the time it was removed, it was coming out of my back. So the bullet had punctured the skin and was poking out of my back. So I had to have it surgically removed.
So did that cause you a lot of pain the night you were shot?
Yes.
A lot of pain between being shot and having the bullet removed?
A lot of pain.
And then the surgery was also not comfortable, I'm guessing, as well.
Right. And then the shoulder is still broke on top of that. The bone here, it was still broke the whole time. So there was the bone healing on top of the surgery and everything else.
Does it still cause you pain even today?
Sometimes, depending on what I'm doing, I'll get like a sharp pain.
There is we've talked about this since, but, and I don't know, do you dispute the fact that Mr. Perry and the defendant were involved in a extramarital affair at the time this happened?
I don't now, no.
Prior to Mr. Perry's death, did you have any idea that the defendant and Mr. Perry were involved in any kind of inappropriate relationship?
No.
Did Mr. Perry at any time have any conversation with you about he would like to have a relationship with Latoshia Daniels?
No.
Did he at any time have a conversation with you about he wanted to have a relationship with anyone other than you, a sexual relationship with anyone other than you?
One time he told me about a book that he wanted me to read.
Right.
That was about the extent of it.
Is a marriage where you would agree to allow your spouse to have a sexual relationship with somebody else, anything that you would ever agree to?
No,
And by saying that, does that mean you never agreed to that with Mr. Perry?
I did not.
And you had no idea anything like that was going on?
I did not.
When I was watching Tabatha's testimony, the first thing that came to mind for me was the fact that she probably requested not to be broadcasted or filmed because much, if not the entirety of her testimony, focused in on her hands and not her face. In addition to that, I just can't even imagine the pain that this woman is going through. Not only did you lose your husband, you find out that your husband was sleeping with who is said to have been a mutual acquaintance, and she tried to kill you too. She was brave to take that stand. She was brave to tell her story, and I commend her.
Now, how were things at home outside of public?
Things at home wasn't as what they seemed in public. My father did physically abuse my mother, and I was the one who would at night wake up and beg him to stop.
Did you have any siblings in the home?
I did. I had 2 little sisters.
Did the three of you hear as your dad would beat your mom?
I'm not sure if they did, but I did, and I often would wake up and ask him to stop, and even sometimes try pulling them apart.
Did Brodus talk to you about ethical non-monogamy?
Yes.
Was this a lifestyle that he was interested in?
Yes.
Can you tell the jury what Brodus told you about ethical non-monogamy? What is it?
It is where individuals are able to have multiple relationships, but everyone in the relationship must consent.
Did Brodus tell you that he had talked to Tabatha about ethical non-monogamy?
He did.
Did he tell you that Tabatha had said she was comfortable with it, but he just hadn't told her about you yet?
He said that she had given him permission to be open on his side of the marriage.
So she was not allowed to be open on her side.
Correct.
But he told you that she had given him permission to go outside.
Yes.
But he had not told her about you, to your knowledge.
No, not to my knowledge.
Did Brodus ever give you a book to read?
The Ethical Slut is the book that he wanted me to read so that I could have a more foundation and knowledge of this lifestyle that he was wanting to be in.
Did you read that book?
I did.
Were you interested in the lifestyle espoused by that book?
No, I was not.
How soon into the relationship did Brodus Perry start discussing this concept of ethical non-monogamy?
Actually, it started, so we were just having conversations about things in life that we wanted to do, bucket list type of things that we were curious in. And at that time, he was like, one of the things I want to do is have a threesome. And I was like, yeah, no, that's nothing I've ever thought about. But he was like, well, I've had one before, but I paid for it. And this time I want to have one where I don't have to pay for it. And so he began to speak about, the term he would use is Tabitha and I being sister wives. Didn't quite know what that meant, but as things went on, he would start to talk about me watching them have sex. And he was like, but I think she'll be on board with it. Just give it time. But so this would be the dialogue. And that dialogue just continued on to where it went from watchers to now wanting to have the threesomes, and then that's when the ethical slut was introduced. And so it was just like a progression of this lifestyle that he wanted.
So kind of breaking that down, how far into the relationship did he start discuss wanting a watcher with you?
It was pretty early on. I would have to say it was before they took their trip to Cuba, which was around his birthday in May, that he began to talk. He was talking about the watcher. So that was 3 months.
Was that a different trip than the birthday trip that he took where he had the threesome?
Yes, that was a different trip.
Okay. Did the threesome birthday trip happen while y'all were together or before?
It happened while we were together.
Did you know that he was going to do that?
The threesome trip in Cuba?
No, when he went and paid for the threesome.
Oh, that was well before I knew him.
Okay. At any point, did you watch him and Tabitha have sex?
No.
Was Tabitha ever invited to watch you and Brodus have sex?
No.
Were you comfortable with the concept of a watcher?
No.
Was Brodus persistent about a watcher?
Very much so.
Explain that for me.
Everywhere we went, he would even text me and say, "Hey, you need to find us a watcher. Find us a watcher." And so I got to the point I was like, if I can find somebody, hopefully I can get him to stop. So I asked a friend of mine if she would do it for us, and she was like, "If I do, we're taking it to our grave." He had me to tell her to download Confide, and we were able to dialogue 3-way, and the things that he was asking her to do, she just backed out.
Did that whole thing make you very uncomfortable?
Very much so.
Why were you willing to even entertain him?
I wanted to make him happy.
As far as Latoshia's testimony itself was concerned, I felt like it was a lot of blame shifting and woe is me. And when I was a child, I suffered. And let me tell you about all my childhood trauma and this, that, and the third. And it's like, aren't you almost 50? I think she's like 46 right now, 47. Like, aren't you almost 50? Like, we all go through things. And I'm not trying to discount the things that everyone goes through. But I just feel like as an adult, it is your responsibility to try to work through things the best you can. Seek therapy, seek guidance, seek counsel, because at some point you can't just continue to blame all of your issues at almost 50 for what happened to you at 16 and 17. We're just not going to do that. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. Do I feel like there might have been a situation where Brodus told her that he and Tabitha were engaged in this ethical non-monogamy lifestyle and she believed that she could sleep with him and just be with him and there was no issues despite the fact that he was married? Yeah, sure. I believe that. But what we're not going to do is paint yourself as the victim because your feelings got hurt. So much so that you're trying to justify the murder of one person and the attempted murder of another. That's not going to happen here. At the time of all of this, Latoshia made her living as a licensed social worker and the owner of Root Behavioral Health, where she specialized in anger management. After merely 4 days of testimony, the jurors convicted Latoshia.
Ms. Daniels, if you would please stand. A jury of your peers has found you guilty of second-degree murder in count 1. The jury has found you guilty in count 2 of reckless endangerment, and the jury has found you not guilty in count 3. As a 13th juror, I approve that verdict.
And the court set her sentencing for December 17th. If you guys want to talk about the sentencing when the time arises, just let me know. But let me know all of your thoughts about this case down below. As always. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Until next time, y'all take care.